Okay, why did the High Sparrow start a bakery?
Why did the High Sparrow start a bakery? I've honestly got no clue. I've got no clue.
Because he was great at raising followers.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello and welcome to day 18 of the Genesis of Androzani Advent Calendar for 2024. We are here with the finale to Season 6 of Game of Thrones. And it is called The Winds of Winter, which is named after the long-awaited book that has not come out since then the last one came out 13 years ago and we're still waiting for it. But the episode has the same title. I guess thematically it's kind of linked in a way. That the winter is coming. The winds of the winter are coming.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So last time we had Battle of the Bastards, which the general public seems to think is one of the best episodes of television ever. And I think
episode ever.
And I think up to this point it is one of, if not the worst episode of Game of Thrones so far.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Just the entire ending of the episode with how awful the dialogue is, how cringe it is. It's like it's as if Chris Chibnall stuck his way into the writing room. But no, D&D are just bad.
The battle itself as well was dog shit.
Ass. Utter ass.
Yep. And then, of course, the start at Meereen as well was so lame.
Yeah, it was just really cringe.
Probably some of the only redeeming qualities being Davos finding Shireen's stag by the what do you call it? I can't remember what they call it now. Basically, where they burned her. And then there was a couple of lines here and there from Jon and Ramsay that were all right. Would your men fight for you knowing that you wouldn't fight for them? I very much look forward to having you in my bed again. Like that sort of thing. And of course, Iwan Rion's performance in his last episode, he really did enjoy himself. But apart from that, it was an absolute cluster dire fuck of nonsense. And yeah.
Real bad.
The worst part was easily Sansa's part with the whole Knights of the Vale thing. That was just ridiculous. So based on that, what are your thoughts going into the finale, episode 10, with the Winds of Winter?
Well, my main, I believe I said my main prediction for this episode is something massive is happening in King's Landing. Because the build up to it is pretty much what we've been. It's the only thing left. I think that is like quite massive. Mm-hmm. So that's what my overall thoughts and feelings is, because everything else is kind of in places where it can just go to next season.
Yeah, and like I said on the last one we did, Battle of the Bastards is considered the best episode of the show by the normies, and The Winds of Winter is considered the best episode of the show by the more sort of artsy side of the TV fans. And I disagree with both of them. However, I disagree more with Battle of the Bastards, I think. Because that episode is just utter dog shit. Like, it's almost completely irredeemable apart from, like, 2 scenes. This one, I think my thoughts are slightly more complicated, though. But I'll get into why when we get to the actual review, because there's a lot to talk about with this episode. It's quite a big one. But there is one thing I've been hyping up all season, and it's to do with Raymond Javadi. And that's another thing I will have a lot of thoughts on when we get to reviewing the music of this episode. It is a long one. It's an hour and 8 minutes.
It's an hour and 8 minutes. It's going to be very filled. I imagine there's going to be an attempt at a lot of tension, but I guess we'll wait and see.
This not only has to cap off the season, but it's also setting up for season 7, aka the start of the worst run in TV.
The beginning, the road to the main event.
Yeah, season 7 and 8. Oh boy. To be fair, it's not all terrible, but it's one.
The time will be season 8, but season 7 will be like, we're now in this spewing nonsense that is known to be spewing nonsense.
I will say this: not every episode after this one is some of the worst television, but most of them are. That's what I will say.
Most of it. Oh god!
There's still a few things to look forward to. I will say it's like we are running out. Like we are very quickly running out, but but there is still some stuff. It's not all doom and gloom yet. Yeah.
No. Not fucking Dawn. No.
We got rid of Bravos, didn't we? Isn't that what you wanted?
No, not Dawn. Fuck. What an interesting first shot. She's wearing her black clothing. This is very different music. When a piano used in this show is very rare.
Oh, that transition's gorgeous.
Ooh. Is what I think's going to happen at the start of the episode? Surely not. That'd feel weird if it's happened right at the start and not a build up to it rather than
the 7. Oh, stripped of his hair. Yeah, imagine being gay. Jesus Christ.
Still hasn't even gone yet. And he hasn't moved.
Great bit of symmetry there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ugh. Man, this happening right at the start of the episode was not on my bingo card. Like, I wonder why she's going out to the window with a glass of wine and dressed in all black. Oh, I didn't realise he was going to die as well. Oh god, imagine being surrounded by children with knives. Jesus Christ.
I was surrounded by children with baseball bats at a playground once.
You do not deserve to die alone in such a cold, dark place.
Oh wow.
But sometimes before we can usher in the new,
We got to kill the old.
must be put to rest.
Funny, because TLJ was 1 year after this.
Let the bears die. Kill it if you have to. Oh no! Ah! Well, rip. Is that a satisfying death for him? I don't know.
Jesus! Well, it's certainly a conclusive one. Holy fuck.
I mean, yeah, he ain't getting up from that. And he's about to be... I think he's just going to be, you know, engulfed in a second. Just give it a minute. What's this? Barrels of something. Oh, no! Oh, listen to that. That's beautiful. Is this kid actually going to get out, or is he just a sacrificial lamb? Oh no, he's going to get out. Oh boy. Look at the green. Look at the green. There's a very interesting build up to this. Like, they've taken 15 minutes to do this. It's like a really slow, just... I don't know how to describe it. Saying that with a smile.
Forget about the bloody gods and listen to what I'm telling you. Cersei understands the consequences of her absence, and she is absent anyway, which means she does not intend to suffer those consequences.
Oh, fucking silly. I'm just going to ignore you and what you say.
I think the High Sparrow is smarter than that.
I would say so. I would say so.
Yeah.
What do you think she's like trying to get at when she says that?
To leave now!
Mate, how have you not figured it out already? Come on.
Stay with me.
Mate, how have you not figured it out? How have you not figured it out? How fucking slow are you, mate? You're so much smarter than that. Jesus Christ, mate. Bye-bye. There's the shot from the vision. No, no. Oh no, that poor guy.
Rushed by a
I would
bell.
have died anyway. Yeah, would have died anyway, but yeah.
It's literally Cersei does 9/11. It's literally Cersei does 9/11. It's what it is.
I've just remembered what Mauler says about Cersei in the bells. That moment that just happened now becomes pretty much a meme in that episode. That little moment there, which is admittedly that shot and that sort of moment for Cersei is great. Oh no.
Confess.
No. Some payback. I mean, what you should probably do is put a rag over it. Or over her, sorry.
I fucked my brother because it feels good to feel him inside me.
Jesus.
Fucking my...
Shame. Shame.
That's great framing.
Jesus. And I think I've seen this gif before. If this is the moment, is this the shot? Bye, Tommen.
Bye.
Full house, Lannister.
What a transition that is. Wow. That's brilliant.
Freys and the Lannisters send their regards.
Even though the phrase did
Way.
absolutely nothing except have a bridge.
Yeah. Wow. That was quite a 20 minutes.
You don't even have to do anything, do you?
That's pretty fun.
Their eyes on you, cunt. Not my type. Not blonde enough.
Ooh.
Ladies, have you met Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, hero of the Battle of Blackwater Bay?
Remember that?
Maybe I'm not in the mood.
Yup, sure.
Fuck off.
Fuck it. You can call me sir just because I'm an anointed.
Christ. He really
See,
is.
that's yeah, but at least that is funny compared to him just saying sex.
Yeah. There's a setup and a payoff.
Can't go killing my son by law. Wouldn't be right. Give the family a bad name.
Yeah.
Why do we need you?
I don't even think would there even be a body if he fell from that high. I feel like he would literally just be a puddle.
We haven't been here before.
No, it's got a wall and a burning tower. Lots and lots of birds.
Hello.
Hello, I'd like to check in.
Feels like something out of a Disney movie.
Yeah, it's like what?
In the meantime, you are permitted to use the library. Follow me.
Oh, a library. That was quite a delivery. No women and children, no. Very offended. Because women and children can't read. Not on these lands. It's like the forbidden section.
Restricted section, you mean?
Just restricted section, there you go.
Yeah, where Harry opens that book and that face comes out and screams at him.
Yeah.
And then Walder Frey goes, "Who's there?"
Show yourself. Fucking hell.
It's the internet.
Fucking what's the planet called?
Oh, it's the thing from the intro.
Yeah. Ah, that's cool. That actually is quite cool. What's the fucking planet called? Does it actually even have a name in Forest of the Dead?
The library.
Is it just called the library?
I think it's just called the library.
Yeah. That's what this reminds me of. But better CGI. Minute goes, let's hit the beach. Now we're in a library.
Oh, great. My favourite character.
He's my favourite character. To be fair, this is a big moment. He hasn't been here since season 1, episode 2.
You're right. I was luckier than most.
Oh, finally. Having this conversation. You fucking bitch.
The army was strapped, the horses were dying. It was the only way.
You burned a little girl alive.
I only do what my lord commands.
He commands you to burn children. Your lord is evil.
I mean, yeah.
I loved that girl like she was my own. She was good, she was kind, and you killed her!
So did her father. So did her mother. Her own blood knew it was the only way.
The only way for what? They all died anyway. You were wrong. How many died because you were wrong?
These scenes lose all meaning when you know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It ages so badly.
If you ever come back this way, I will execute you myself.
Well, his acting was incredibly good.
Yeah. But I do have a few ifs about that scene. Mainly the principles behind it. Oh, hello.
Should we have a talk about how you fucked that entire fight last episode, Sansa? No? Okay.
You're the Lady of Winterfell. You deserve it. We're standing here because of you.
Fuck off. Fuck you son of a fucking bitch. You absolute fucking stupid fuck. You fucking stupid fuck.
Eirich sold you to the Boltons.
He did.
Can you trust him?
Only a fool would trust Littlefinger.
You fucking... Oh my god, I'm so done. I'm so done. I'm so done. I'm so done. Two really stupid lines back to back from both characters. Oh my god.
Why didn't you tell me about the Knights of the Vale? That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
We can't fight a war amongst ourselves. We have so many enemies now.
Hate this scene.
Why would I trust Littlefinger? Because you fucking did so in the war, you stupid bitch. Fucking hell. Go fuck yourself. Both of you. You stupid idiots. Stop smiling, you fucking dork. Fuck's sake, this moment should mean so fucking much. And they fucking fucked it. They fucked it.
Yep.
This fucking moment should mean so fucking much.
Yep. But
After fucking six fucking seasons.
Because they wanted Battle of the Bastards to have a surprise.
Fucking Jon said so. Oh god. And then Sansa said, why would I trust Littlefinger? You fucking stupid. You have that and then you cut to dawn. What are you fucking doing? Fucking idiot writers.
What she lacks in diplomacy, she
Do
makes...
shut up, dear. Anything from you? No. Good. Let the grown women speak.
You know when your writing's really good is when you have a character point out how shit your other characters are.
And what is my heart's desire?
Blood.
If we take Casterly Rock, the Lannisters will have nowhere to run when you hit King's Landing.
No, we're writing a way to get you out of the show.
There's finally peace in Marine.
No. Peace. Okay, cool.
Yeah, now there's peace. Yeah. Sure. Totally. There's totally peace.
I can't bring a lover to Westeros.
A king wouldn't think twice about it.
I can't believe there's a fucking dumping scene in Game of Thrones. He's on his You've made him go on his knees. Oh my god. We've still got half an hour.
She just slut-shamed him.
You'll get that throne you want so badly, I'm sure of it.
Oh, I hate how this is how they... I hate how this is how they solve slavery as well. So stupid.
What a waste of like a really great actor.
Unfortunately, a lot of his best scenes were actually with the other actor in season 3.
Yeah, such a waste.
You turned away a man who truly loves you because he would have been a liability in the Seven Kingdoms.
Thank you for telling me what that scene was.
Terrible at a lot of things this season, Tyrion.
Fucking hell.
You have your armies. You have your ships. You have your dragons.
All in the most bullshit way possible.
He wasn't the first to love you. And he won't be the last.
Ah, yep. Foreshadowing.
Thinking about season 8. Oh, you're my queen. You're my queen. She is my queen.
So where belief got people.
Oh god, that's those lines she just said is so funny now. Thinking about what she does and what her motivations are towards certain characters. Oh, that's so funny.
I don't actually own a sword.
It's your counsel I need.
Yeah,
Why?
but I always insult you, so
Why do you trust
you
Tyrion
literally
Lannister?
always insult him until you tell him how terrible he does at his job.
Barely spent any time with him.
This is the most they've spent time together in a scene.
Yeah, they were together for like 2 episodes in season 5. And now they're here. And also Tyrion's been absolutely useless in Meereen. Absolutely fucking useless. Ugh. She has no reason to do this. This is dumb.
You insult him constantly when you're together. This is the first time you've been nice to him, and even then, she said you didn't console me.
She hasn't seen the footage of him in the first 4 seasons where he was actually smart.
Yeah, cheese. Love a bit of cheese platter. Jesus Christ. Ooh, wait. Whoa. Oh, I forgot. Oh, yeah. They're in the pie. Or cake.
They weren't easy to carve.
Hi, Aya. How you doing? You doing well? That was a quick journey from Bravos.
That was a quick set of murders?
Yeah.
My name is Arya Stark. I want you to know that. The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
No! Rip. Jesus Christ. I know, I mean, I've seen that shot before with that face.
They've completely changed her perspective on death. and like the whole moral ambiguity.
I don't
around
know
it.
what her. I do not know what her fucking like journey is.
There's no moral ambiguity. She's just a psychopath. That's it.
Yeah,
A revenge-filled psychopath.
because
dear.
as you know, Connor, the one episode of Game of Thrones I did watch before season 8, episode 3, was the first episode of season 7. I know what happens in that episode, so I've mixed things up. Remember when Ned was here carving his sword?
Remember Maester Lewin
Better
died here.
times.
I was wrong.
No, you weren't.
How are you going to outsmart him in this scene? Oh. Oh, I just cringed. I really just cringed inside myself.
Spread quickly through the 7 kingdoms. I've declared for House Stark for all to hear.
You've declared for other houses before Lord Baelish. It's never stopped you from serving yourself.
Then why are you keeping him around, you stupid woman? And why is he wanting to stay around when he's obviously not trustworthy? For fuck's sake.
Literally, the last scene she was in, she was like, "Why would I trust Littlefinger? Yet you're still keeping around." What do you want? What do you actually want?
And how can he not sense? How can he not sense that he's also in danger sticking around? None of his allies are there.
Spells were carved into his foundations.
Oh, nice to know that now. What a weird way for them to spend their second half of the season. Feels like we haven't really done anything with them this second half. Yeah, that big climax with the Hodor moment, and then nothing. They've really made him into like a zombie cowboy. That's what I'm getting from this. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, him and Hangman could have a good match.
They can burn houses together.
Yeah, true. Time to access the Wi-Fi.
So what was the point of them seeing the vision of what happened in King's Landing? It had to be for a reason other than just showing us.
Possibly the Mad King's imagination of what would happen. But it's the same shot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same shot. Like, I know what that...
That's what I would interpret.
Oh yeah, remember this plot line? See, but in the previous vision he did say something, which is why he turned around. But he didn't say anything this time. Ooh, that's a lot of blood. That's a lot of blood. So much blood that I don't think you're gonna make it. Oh. Hold on. No, okay, hold on. Maybe I'm reading too much into that specific line. I think she is, though. Oh, we gotta set up another mystery to the mystery. Yeah, because... yeah. Okay. So, what I'm thinking is it isn't actually Ned's son. Like, this is John. I know that. It's very obvious. And he said that he cheated to have it be a cover story. But he didn't actually.
Well, if it is his son, it would have to be incest with his sister, right?
Yeah. He didn't actually cheat. And John isn't actually his son.
That is quite a good match cut, I will say.
That's very good. Why would Robert want to kill John if he found out what he actually was? And that's why she died. She died in childbirth.
You refused the call. And you, Lord Kerwin, your father was skinned alive by Ramsay Bolton. Still, you refused the call.
That's pretty bad.
Ned Stark's blood runs through his veins. He's my king. From this day...
That's interesting now, coming from the last scene.
There's also another problem with this. You know what it is? Do you know what the problem with this is?
What's the problem, Connor?
Well, what happens when you swear vows to the Night's Watch? You strip of all your titles and all your privileges.
Yeah.
Why is no one questioning that?
Yeah.
And are they supposed to believe he was killed and revived?
Yeah.
Therefore, his vows are no longer
sanctioned.
Well,
that was his whole thing of like, I have to leave because that happened. I died.
This guy is such a big character in the
I
books.
didn't want more Mandaleys dying for nothing.
A man can only admit when he was wrong and ask forgiveness.
There's nothing to forgive, my lord.
So the ends justify the means then for Robert Glover.
Hmm.
Because he wouldn't be saying this if they lost.
Yeah.
And I will stand behind Jon Snow.
This is just so Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. If we didn't have that Jon Sansa scene, I would be more like pumped up for this. It's just soured it a little bit. Oh, that little musical transition there was fucking beautiful for that shot.
Raymond's having an all-timer.
Yeah. The music has been fucking stellar this episode.
Oh, so still not been put out after all that time.
Oh, God.
He was at the Twins this episode.
Yeah. Like, that would have taken, like, if he was there, that would have taken them... How long did they say it took them in season 1 to get there? To King's Landing?
Well, it was... an episode or two.
But, like, how did they say within the actual time how long it took them?
I can't remember what they said. But travelling from the Twins to King's Landing is not...
It would take more than just a couple of days.
I think it's about a third or a quarter of Westeros. It's pretty long distance.
Yeah.
The Twins is at the halfway point between the north and south.
They had to stop.
King's Landing is probably Landing is probably halfway approximately between the Twins and Dawn. Maybe just slightly above that, because I think the Stormlands are under that. I'm not sure, but it's a pretty big
makes
distance.
Makes it seem like they got there in like a day or two.
Protector of the seven.
Lots happened in like 3 episodes, Jamie.
Yeah, I played this theme for you earlier, Cersei's theme.
Yeah. Like this episode has the scale of like this legitimately could be like the greatest episode of the show.
A lot of people think it
is. It gets so much wrong with certain bits that really brings it down. But like the scale of it absolutely should be.
Yeah, like it's the biggest episode on paper.
This is the most change we've had in a single episode.
Yeah, it's very.
Cersei's on the throne. Walder Frey's dead. Arya's back in Westeros.
John's the king of the north.
John is the king of the north.
The Faith Militant's gone. The Tyrell house is obliterated. Varys is...
The scepter's been blown to bits.
Yep.
Tommen's dead.
Yep.
Like, this has to be like the most change in an episode in the whole show.
It's very transformative. And now Dany's going to Westeros.
And Dany is finally going to Westeros. On paper, this should absolutely be the best episode of the show. But then what has been written on the paper hasn't been. This whole final 10 minutes or so has been like, we're entering the end game now. This is what this is all presented as.
Why is Varys on the boat? He was already in Westeros. Why did he go back?
Oh my fucking god. That's stupid. He didn't have to be there. You didn't have to put him there.
What a waste of travel.
We're in the end game now.
Yeah, and sadly for this show, that's not a good thing. So, Callum, your thoughts on the Winds of Winter?
I think I summed it up pretty well right there at the end. On paper, this should absolutely be not only the best episode of the show, but one of the greatest episodes of television of all time. Like, it has absolutely the scale.
It has the ingredients. Absolutely has the ingredients. It has the right director, the right composer, the right actors, and the right set of narrative points to create a finale out of it. However, it just isn't, because there's issues. There's so many issues.
There's so many issues. There's like the art direction, the cinematography, the acting, the music, the pacing, everything surrounding this episode.
Also, let's not forget, it features every storyline as well. There's not a single one that's left out. It has the entire show in one episode.
Every single part of this current story all going and chipping away. Everything is going for it. Every moment is setting up in grand scale where, as I keep saying, heading for the end game. We're now in positions where things are going to roll up and head towards a conclusion. We have Cersei on the Iron Throne. We have Jon being the King of the North. We have the impending war with the dead.
Daenerys is coming to Westeros.
Daenerys coming to Westeros. Those are like 4 massive things that have been building for since the very start. And on paper, as I keep saying, this should literally be like the greatest episode of the show. But it's not, because they make some baffling choices with the characters and do not address things that they really should be addressing.
This is all down to Dave and Dan as well. They're the only people to blame for this, because everything else about the episode, every other person involved did an absolutely incredible job, because the presentation is impeccable. It's just the writing. That's the only thing about it that really pisses me off. All right, let's talk about Cersei, Tommen, Marjorie, the High Sparrow, Loras, Lancel Lannister. Yeah,
all dedicated to the first 23 minutes of the episode.
So not talking about the bit at the end with Jaime, just talk about the Game of Thrones does 9/11 20-minute short film at the start of the episode.
As it was happening, I kept trying to think of words to describe what it was, but it's like a slow funeral. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like when you look at everything that Cersei, all the scenes and shots that show of Cersei, she's not preparing for the trial, she's preparing for a funeral. She's dressed in all black, she has a glass of wine, she's looking out on the terrace and watching the scepter blow to bits. And in some ways, it's beautiful in a way, in terms of how the build-up is done. And it's a slow death and funeral rolled into one.
It's also the biggest, well, apart from maybe the Red Wedding, it's the biggest, and Hardhome, I guess. But that's technically, I don't count the White Walkers as people. I count them as like a disease.
Oh wow, you racist.
Yes! That's why we have the wall, because we need segregation. Anyway, I think, apart from possibly the Red Wedding, this is the biggest example of terrorism in the show we've seen.
Oh boy, yeah. I would say that this is like, not only in the show, but in universe, this is like the biggest event in the show. The Scepter and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have been killed.
Very important people as well, you gotta remember.
Very important people.
The thing is with the Red Wedding is that there was a few very important people that died, but most of the people that died were soldiers.
It was a wipeout. The Red Wedding was a wipeout of a family and an army.
Yeah, whereas I think with this
is changing the entire culture of King's Landing and sort of Westeros as a whole. Yeah. This changes the entire culture.
Also, this makes Cersei a tyrant as well.
Oh, she is an evil, evil, evil person. She's evil.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing she's ever done. And it gets to a point where when she sees... We'll get that to in a little bit. It's just the whole build-up to it is actually really well done. The build-ups, the shots, the music, the constant piano playing through it, and then the... What's it fucking... It's called an organ piano, right? What they play in churches.
Yes.
So beautifully crafted.
They have a traditional piano and also an organ as well. They have both.
Yeah. So beautifully crafted. The pacing of it all. The cinematography. the acting from everybody involved, really well done.
Clyburn lures Pycelle in as well.
Really well done.
Stabs him with the birds.
Yeah.
I think one of the most powerful moments is when Loras Tyrell confesses his crimes and gets the 7-pointed star branded into his forehead. I think that's...
There's a part of me that I don't know if he is legitimately confessing or is having to actually do it and it's breaking him in a way.
I think
it's kind of really well done in a way.
With both Cersei and Marjorie, one of the biggest things about the Faith Militant is that they beat you into submission, and with Loras Tyrell, he genuinely just gave up.
Yeah. It's been beaten out of him, yeah.
Lancel Lannister also gets lured into the caverns of Wildfire.
Yeah. Really well built up to. Now, my one big issue with it all is the High Sparrow.
That's correct. And it's the same thing with me.
He, for some reason, doesn't pick up on it until the very last moment.
The fact that he doesn't even anticipate it at all is quite stretched.
Now, here's the thing, right? He would have died anyway. In terms of the grand scale of the explosion, they would have died anyway. So that's not an issue. I'm just having an issue with the character itself, not figuring it out when it's plainly obvious what is going on. And it takes him like 2 minutes after what Marjorie says to him, why do you think that Cersei isn't here? And then he scoffs at her, and that's the moment when I'm just like, no, come on, you're smarter than this. You've been established to be extremely smart and very deceptive and very conniving and just crafty. Yet somehow you don't figure it out until the literal last second of your life. That's sort of my main biggest issue. And like I said, thankfully, it's like it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But what it does do is just take slightly away from the character itself, which is a real annoyance because he's been very strong this whole season.
That's the thing, right? Is that apart from this episode, he's like a very consistent character. He's every motivation, everything he's done has been very like online with what we know about him. But then you get this episode, and it's like, oh, you were almost there. So yeah, the High Sparrow is the big problem with it. There's a few other things I have to add. So the CGI for the Mountain's face is not great, but I can let it slide. They do put a lot of shadowing on it.
Oh boy, yeah, there's a lot. It's very obvious.
Yes. I feel like I wanted to see... I guess they were trying to illustrate that she's been through so much that she just doesn't have any grief left in her with seeing Tommen dead. It's almost like she expected it. But I almost wonder if we would have benefited from seeing Cersei's reaction to her son's death a bit more than this.
That was the other thing I was hinting at a little bit ago. I found her reaction... I understand what they're going for. I don't think it's what they should have done. I think she can have that moment in that scene when she asks to be alone with the body.
Yeah.
And she has a moment. And then after that, we then get everything else where she is just stone-faced, cold, evil, everything. I feel like that is way more effective because then it's sort what I would want it to be is the representation of the last piece of her dying.
Yeah.
And then she's Cersei, ruler of the Iron Throne.
She probably also...
I feel like that would have been really effective.
She probably could have... There should at least be some reference to Maggie the Frog as well, because that was a prophecy that was given to her as a child.
Because like what I want is to have then that moment, and then any time Tommen is brought up again, assumingly from Jaime, she's just cold with it because she's had that moment and now it's just dead. It's gone.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like they probably are going to do that, but not having that moment where she can let that part of herself die by allowing the emotion to take over and then just kill it. I feel like that's really effective, and it's a shame they haven't done that.
I guess the showrunners probably wanted her reactions to all of her children's deaths to be different.
Sure. But I feel like what I'm obviously I'm not a writer, but I feel like what I suggested would be very effective in what I feel like Cersei's character is at her core.
When you look at her reaction to Joffrey's death in season 4 and then this one, it's like she's a whole different person now.
Yeah.
Emotional trauma. A couple more things. Was nuking the Sept of Baelor the best way to end the conflict with the Tyrells for Cersei? At least storyline wise. Like, obviously I understand why the character did it, but in the show, are you satisfied that, especially a character like Marjorie Tyrell, that her ending was this one?
The focus seemed to be way more on, the Seven.
I understand it for Loras Tyrell. You had that whole scene with Marjorie where she gave Olenna the rose and she walked away and went back to Highgarden. I just don't know. I mean, I know that Marjorie was part of the whole Faith Militant storyline, but I just don't know if this is what I would have chosen for Marjorie to end on.
It doesn't feel
it's not really thematically connected. It's only there because it's connected to Loras Tyrell's death. That part of it I understand. Kevin Lannister was also in that explosion as well. So I just wonder if going for like hitting the nuke button on the storyline was a bit of a coward's way out for Dave and Dan to do. I'm not sure. I could be convinced otherwise though. It's kind of like that seems to be a thing this whole season though. When you think back to season 6, a lot of storylines just get nuked with death. Just so many characters just get blown up.
Yeah.
And also, there is something that season 7 is going to have to do to follow up on this properly, right? This religion is very, very loved by the people of King's Landing. And Cersei, as we saw in the Walk of Atonement and other scenes, is very hated by the people of King's Landing. So the fact that the news will now be there that the Queen has killed, the holy temple of the land, you'd have to imagine that there will be like an uprising, right? Because all these people living there now should theoretically hate her even more than they did. And that's something that season 7 is going to have to follow up on, because I don't see a scenario where that's not the case. So yeah, we'll have to address that when it becomes relevant. But as a presentation, they did a fantastic job. Miguel Sapochnik and Raymond Javadi and all the actors, the costume design, the set design, the art direction, it was beautiful. It was a lovely short film. It's like a 20-minute short film at the start of the episode.
Pretty much.
And Tommen quietly committing suicide was a really interesting decision as well.
Yep, I've seen that GIF quite a few times.
Yeah.
It's a good GIF. But as a moment, it's it's a really effective sort of like scene.
Fucking, I'm trying to remember. Mauler and Wolf had a really good meme for that scene, and I can't remember what it was now.
Well, it's in a lot of Mauler's season 8 videos.
I hear Tom in, Tom out. And also, like, that's why they call it King's Landing.
Nah.
Also, the kind of actually, this is quite interesting. Like, you could almost give a thematic connection of like Cersei basically forced Jaime to push Bran out the window, and she indirectly has caused Tommen to jump out the window. But Tommen actually died.
Yep.
Yeah, what is Tommen's favourite band? Fall Out Boy. I could have used that at the start of the next episode, actually. I shouldn't have told you that. Yeah, the shampoo bottle in the shower. Tommen Baratheon. He's got a funny death.
That's certainly a summary.
So there was a meme saying, "Do a backflip, Your Grace."
No.
Yeah, so I think I've said a lot of what I need to say about the first part of the King's Landing thing, but we'll get to a specific part of it later. We should probably talk about Jaime, because he's one of the only characters that travels. He has a scene at the Twins where he talks to Walder Frey about, like, well, why do we even need you? Bronn also gets laid, apparently. and it's kind of setting up the Arya faceless girl thing because she's there. It's weird because Jamie's there as well. I don't know. Arya's thoughts on Jamie it's questionable, to be honest. What she thinks about
never
Jamie,
really
I don't really
talked
know.
about.
I don't really
It's
know.
never talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know.
But I think my biggest issue with Jamie in this episode is that he basically teleports really quickly from the twins to King's Landing.
Yeah.
Because I guess with the order of the events in the episode, we are led to believe that the scene with Walder Frey happens after the explosion.
I'd imagine so.
And when he turns up, it's still on fire.
Because there's the thing, like I mentioned during the reaction, I know there's a scene in season 7, episode 1, right near the start. I won't talk about it because some people might not have seen it as they watch this. So I mixed that up. So I didn't realise he was dying in this episode, so that was a bit of a surprise. But I caught and it was clearly Arya. And then I'm thinking, how the fuck did she get here so fast? She was literally in Bravos, like what?
2 episodes
ago?
I have very negative opinions on the Arya bit, to be honest.
It's like she's a brand new character. She just was completely different.
Okay, so firstly, let's talk about logistics. So she was able to sneak into the twins, faceless. Somehow was able to kill Black Walder and Lothar Frey. No one noticed. No one noticed that she did that. Skinned them.
Where is everyone?
Turned them into a cake. Used the cooking and cooked them. And happened to be when Walder Frey was in there alone, so no one could see her do it. And then. Yeah, and also on top of that, what I said before about, you remember the end of season 3 when her and the Hound slaughter that camp of guys after the Red Wedding, and she holds her bloody hands with the coin up and she says Vala Magulis. There's a moral ambiguity to her murderous side. It's shades of grey, whereas here she is a cold-blooded psychopath and she's, very much enjoying killing this man out of revenge.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the build-up to that moment has really been. I don't think that's been the build-up at all. And it feels really out of nowhere.
The way that the way the scene is presented is like, oh yes, go girl, kill the bad man. It's very
Oh yeah, it's
cliche.
It's quite. Yeah, it's like he deserves it. Watch as he chokes on his own blood.
But the problem is, one of my favorite things about Game of Thrones when it was good is that every time a big character dies, I learn something. I didn't learn anything from this at all.
I learned that she, for some reason, out of nowhere, is like a psychopath.
Yeah. And it was really cringy and stupid.
Which is like, she's not done that ever before, and the build-up from everything to do with Bravos doesn't suggest she would kill... I would imagine she'd be quite emotional.
But even if you are one of those people that are satisfied that Walder Frey got his just desserts, the problem with the scene, as I explained, is that it shouldn't happen. The fact that she was able to so easily kill Lothar Frey and Black Walder without being seen, skin them, cook them in a pie, and give them to Walder Frey in an empty room is absurd.
Also, there's not going to be any, discussion the fact that she just got sexually harassed by him as well.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the first time I has sort of been in that situation, and it's kind of not really addressed, which is
that's actually not true. There is sort of a scene in season 2 where someone in Harrenhal says, "I'd fuck you, bloody little girl," but there's no physical contact.
But I'm physical is then the next step, which is kind of it's not fun. So it's I get it. It's Walder Frey. He's an evil scumbag, lowest of the low. That kind of thing never is really talked about with Arya because of for most of it she's been a child. Yeah, it's just quite. It's a bit of a strange one.
But yeah,
and the fact that it's not really talked about
as a death for Walder Frey, I find it unsatisfying.
Yeah.
as a character moment for Arya, I think it's really cringy, and as a plot event, it doesn't make sense. So
I feel like for Walder Frey was on her list, yeah. I feel like not having him not faced with the rest of the Starks is strange as a choice. Not faced with Jon, not faced with Sansa, to pay for his crime for, betraying their family.
It's also interesting that they featured Wyman Manderley in this episode with Jon's scene, because in the books, Wyman Manderley is the one that organizes the Frey pies, but the way he does it there, it actually, like, you can actually be like, oh yeah, this is how he did it. But with Arya's one here, it's like, oh. Because when Wyman Manderley does the Frey pies, it's at Winterfell, after the wedding from Sansa and Ramsay. And because in the book, so many Freys are living at Winterfell, whereas in the show, they don't really do that. And you can sort of figure out how he's done it, and it's supposed to be like an insurrection of the castle so that they can overthrow the Boltons when they're inside.
Also, actually, I've just remembered, it's the same person. Arya disguised as the same person who served Jaime and Bronn their drinks.
Yes.
Is that Arya at that moment?
Yes, it is.
So, like, the whole stare at Jaime, I guess, is their attempt of foreshadowing?
Yes.
But it doesn't really come across as that.
Comes across as flirtation.
Yeah. Not her just sort of like... And that would actually be what you just talked about, the fact that we don't really know what she thinks of Jaime, and that could be a great, actually, kind of good moment to get that across.
It's a dynamic we've never seen in the show. We've never had Arya and Jaime, like, be at odds.
Like, she serves Bronn and then looks at Jaime and sort of is still...
Like, the closest thing we've gotten...
Yeah.
The closest thing we've gotten is in the first episode of season 1, where I think, like, Sansa mentions something about, oh, that's the Kingslayer.
Yeah, that's
and Arya's there in the scene.
Wouldn't that scene that we had be actually a decent moment of like Arya in her disguise actually freeze while looking at Jaime before pouring the drink, and that could be like that was a bit of a weird moment. Maybe she was just shocked by seeing someone so famous in Jaime. But then it's like, oh, okay, actually no, it turns out it is Arya. The whole issues with her being there in the first place is obviously still there, but it'd be something.
Also, remember the tone of how she was during season 3. Like, the Red Wedding was really serious and it was quite devastating. This is like super, super comical. The way she kills Walder Frey is like really cheesy.
It's psychopathic, and it's not like her saying, "Do you know what you did? Do you know what you did to me? You killed everyone I loved, and you laughed and drank."
It doesn't feel personal. It just feels super like, I'm a badass.
It feels like I'm a psychopath murderer. It's not fitting at all.
The last thing you're going to see before you die is a Stark's
It doesn't
face.
feel like Frey is getting comeuppance for that act. It's just the fact that he's a bad person more than anything.
Yeah.
He's a perverted scumbag, lowest of the low human being.
As opposed to what Arya
that seems
lost
like more
personally.
of a reason of like why he's died rather than you killed my family.
Also, you could have had a moment where, like, when she's serving drinks, Walder Frey mentions how he loves how he killed Robb Stark. You could have her like twitch slightly.
He did very briefly mention Robb, but yeah, it's just yeah.
All right, let's talk about... Oh yeah, I guess I will briefly mention there is that scene in the Red Keep where Jaime, it kind of clicks to him what's happened. That Cersei is now the queen because Tommen's dead. He's kind of like seeing what's changed. Let's talk about Old Town. Samwell Tarly and Gilly and that guy, the receptionist guy.
Yeah, that was a very strange scene.
It was too funny. Like, and by that I don't mean I laughed. I mean as in it was trying too hard to be funny. It's too
it's trying to be awkward. It's like it's awkward because we made it awkward for no reason.
That line was he says like, well, you know, when you think about it, life is strange.
That's just really awkward for no reason.
Yeah. And
like,
also,
I get it. I get that he is awkward, but I feel like that it's just not natural.
I also think Sam should have been a bit more sensitive around like the whole no women and children thing.
The delivery of the guy's line of "no women and children" really made me laugh. Like it was like he was an incel.
Yeah. But Sam.
But then
has
I
been
really, yeah.
Sam's been very like protective over, you know, Gilly and Sam before, and like them staying together, and this whole thing of no women and children, and him just sort of like shrugging it off funnily, just seems slightly odd.
Very odd. But then I really liked the whole reveal of the whole library. I thought that was actually really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And it was like for the audience as well. It's like, oh, it's the thing from the title sequence. We didn't know what it was until now.
Oh my god, we know the meaning of the title sequence now.
Unfortunately, they don't really do any of the build up to Old Town like they do in the books. They just have it revealed.
They left last episode, didn't they? Or was it the episode before?
Episode 8. 7, I think.
Oh, really? I thought it was like 7. I thought it was...
Nah, I think it was 7.
Yeah, okay. End of episode 7. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, there's no real build-up in terms of us having a scene after they left. They're just here now, at the end of the season.
Yeah. We don't have much time left, though, do we? Season 7 and 8 is very short. He's just got there.
Yeah, it's it. Yeah, and we know he's back in season 8, so
yeah,
we've got a whole season of this, I guess.
Right, beyond the wall, we have Benjen Stark, who is apparently can't go past the wall because his magic forces to prevent White Walkers from progressing.
Yeah, sure. Has there been mention of magic within the wall before?
I believe so, but it hasn't been explicitly explained like that.
Yeah, it's not really... If it has been, I imagine it's been like once or twice.
Puts his hand on the weirwood tree, and we see a scene of Ned Stark, the one that was teased earlier in the season, before they got out of Bloodraven's cave with Hodor. And yeah, it's his sister Lyanna, Robert Baratheon loved, was allegedly raped and murdered by Rhaegar Targaryen, and he was betrothed to Elia Martell, who was raped and murdered by the Mountain. A lot of different people involved there. Rhaegar was killed by Robert at the Trident, and Lyanna died in childbirth to Jon Snow. And Ned took him to protect him. So that's a pretty big moment in the past to see at the Tower of Joy, I think it is. I think this kind of reveal is something that I know that when Dave and Dan first met with George Martin about doing an adaptation, the one question they had to get past to be allowed to do it was, who is Jon Snow's mother? And because they got the answer right, they were allowed to do the adaptation. If the answer was Lyanna Stark. So yeah, this is the truth, I guess. I know I'm 99% certain that Martin will stick to this I assume he'll probably reveal it in the next book, so that the outcome of that happens in the last book. So this does feel like this whole idea that Lyanna Stark is Jon's mother feels fitting of the story, but I don't know if Game of Thrones, the TV show, is making the best of it. That's my main issue, I think. It becomes more apparent when you get to like season 7 and 8, because this is just a moment. That being said, my favourite part of the scene is the match cut they do from baby Jon to Jon now at Winterfell.
Yeah, that shot is that's used a lot.
Before I'd even seen Game of Thrones at all, I remember Jake telling me, like, when we were at film school is when this episode came out, and he said to me, he didn't spoil what happened or the context, but he told me that like something that had been building up since the start of the show was answered to him in one match cut edit. and he found it very satisfying. Yeah, and that's a great bit of visual storytelling to do that, to cut from the past to the present like that. I think, actually, you mentioned before about how when even, like, right when the episode started, something felt different about it. I think the editing in this is quite different to what you usually get in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It was more of like there was a lot of time jumping, there was a lot of montaging, some fading, like it was quite cinematic in a way. Felt like a film.
Yeah. And the scale is massive throughout the entire episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, what were your thoughts on the scene in the past with Ned and Lyanna?
It's very interesting as a twist, having so much of the initial, like, relationships, especially with, like, Catelyn towards Jon, him being a product of Ned's failures, you know, being a husband, to then have that be not actually the case, and it actually be an act of noble, like him being noble towards his dying sister, making this story up that would make him look awful in order to protect the child, I think as a character moment is actually really interesting.
Yeah, there's do you remember in season 1 when he was in the prison cell and Varys was visiting him before he got executed, but after he was like betrayed by Littlefinger? It's in those scenes. I mean, we do get flashes of it before, but in the first book, Ned has a lot of dreams. Also, after he gets stabbed when, you know, during the Jaime fight, and then he wakes up with Robert throwing his pen back at him. In the books, we see a lot of his dreams in his point of view chapters, and there is this one constant message of promise me Ned going through it, and it's his sister Lyanna. You never get a hint that Jon Snow is relevant to the scene, but there is something about Lyanna in that first book and all of Ned's dreams that is about, and you know, this kind of reveals what that whole dream was about, really. So this is straight out of like the first book's source material. Like this is old Game of Thrones lore, this scene. And it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels like a scene from early Game of Thrones. It's very like different to the other parts of season 6 in terms of the way it's written and everything. It's so like, it is so.
The scene, what I appreciate about this scene, it makes you feel, it allows you to figure it out.
Yeah.
Probably not the line of like, I've missed you, big brother, but more the amount of blood that's around. Already you're like, okay, she's not going to make it. She's gone.
Yeah. And then for anyone left who hadn't figured it out yet, the match cut gives you that final moment where it's like, that's who that baby is.
Obviously the question is, who is the father?
Yeah, and that's for season 7 to deal with, I guess.
Yeah.
As Bran gets more access to the internet.
Jon is a Stark in terms of blood, but he's not Ned's son.
Unless they're incest, yeah.
I actually didn't expect that as a twist. That's something I actually have not known. So that's actually quite
I definitely,
a reveal.
I kept that very quiet from you.
Oh boy, yeah, you did. Yeah.
Especially there's that scene in season 1 where Robert and Ned are talking about Jon Snow. I think it's the second episode of season 1. Where he's like, what's the bastard's mother? Wyler.
I've just looked at the cut again, and it's just, oh, that's really good. That's such a good cut to Jon.
Okay, speaking of Jon, oh boy, there's some things. He got 3...
Yeah, let's talk about the worst scene in the entire episode.
Well, he got 3 big scenes. We'll talk about the worst one first, I think. Get that out the way so we can sort of get through it.
Right in the middle of them.
Yeah, the worst scene is the one with Sansa on the bridge. It's probably the worst scene in the episode. Yeah, it's so terrible, and it's all terrible because of Battle of the Bastards.
The fucking line of "We're standing here because of you."
Yep, it's a load of bullshit.
So idiotic, because while in in practicality, yes, that's true. Morally, that is not the context whatsoever.
Yep, because he should be asking, why didn't you tell me about the Knights of the Vale?
It's so bafflingly stupid. They just don't understand that her waiting and not telling John this whole army she can get.
I think Dave and Dan are trying to do, what they're trying to do is to emphasize that it was a hard thing for Sansa to ask help from someone she doesn't trust, that being Littlefinger, after what she's been through, but they do it in the exact wrong way. They do not translate that idea in the show at all, and they don't do it in a way that works. It just ruins all these characters.
Fucking hate it. Yeah. Fucking hate it.
I also hate the scene with Littlefinger and Sansa as well. I think it's dumb how he chooses to stick around when he clearly should know better, and she chooses to keep him around when she has no reason to. When she very clearly said to John that she doesn't trust Littlefinger. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
The fucking line of only a fool would trust Littlefinger.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, you're an idiot. You literally did. You literally did. Oh, and then she says, I should have told you about him. So
yeah, I know. Ridiculous.
About the Knights of the... Oh my god, the scene's actually worse now, because when John said that, and then Sansa said, why would anyone trust Littlefinger? Or I just didn't listen to the rest of the scene. And now I'm looking at the rest of the dialogue. Oh my god, she even says, I should have told you, and then what's John's reaction? I'm just looking now.
Well, is he like, there's nothing to, apologize for or whatever?
We need to trust each other.
We need to trust each other. Oh.
You don't
say. It's so annoying. Like I feel like Dave and Dan really, with Battle of the Bastards, they were trying really hard to recreate that moment from Blackwater when Tywin and Loras Tyrell's armies come in and stop Stannis, but they do it in like the exact wrong way.
I mentioned that. I feel like that's what the moment they tried to have.
But the reason why
failed miserably.
The reason why that moment in Blackwater works so well is because it completely steals all the hard work that Tyrion did. That's why I love it. It's because Tyrion did all the hard work and Tywin swooped in at the last minute and stole it from him.
Fucking Jon smiling, look at the sky and talking about Ned should be like one of the fucking best scenes of the whole episode. Yeah. With the music and everything. I should be like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I should probably be crying. But no, they fucked it.
Yeah. Because of how they handled Battle of the Bastards, it's ruined this scene.
It's ruined it.
Yep.
You just have Sansa tell him. They do. She says, I should have told you. But you don't give a reason why you didn't tell him. What's the reason why you didn't?
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason? You don't tell us the reason.
Yeah.
And if anybody says because she doesn't trust Littlefinger, you're fucking stupid. She has him on a string.
Yep.
She literally had him on a string in this fucking season.
Yep.
She's literally manipulated him before.
In this episode, he goes, I picture me on the Iron Throne with you by my side.
Now, in fairness, that's after this scene. However, Sansa should know that she has him by her fucking finger.
By her little finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh my god. It's like I just said, it's the moment where Jon smiles, talks about Ned Stark, and then that angers me because that moment should be so fucking gut-wrenching. I should be like a fucking sobbing little child when he says that, but I'm not because the fucking scene ruins it.
Yep.
Because they make them both fucking stupid. Yep. They've regressed into fucking embryos.
Yep. Ponytail John. Oh dear.
God. Oh. Who just kept any sort of level of consistency, then that whole moment still works.
Remember how John was like one of the best characters in season 5?
Yeah.
Like him and Cersei.
He was like one of the best, consistently just like really enjoyable, great characters from season 1 to 5.
Yeah. As soon as he came back to life, he's been fucking dog shit.
It's so funny how a single moment, something so poignantly and poetically, like, symbolizing the turn of character, him dying and then coming back to life. I don't think there's a single thing that I've ever seen in media that is so poetically fitting of this regression of character.
Mm-hmm.
He literally died and then came back to life and was then dumber.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything like it. I honestly haven't.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Also, one of the biggest things about what's great about the whole point of Littlefinger and Sansa and their manipulative side is that they're able to, like, overcome smart people. The reason why this is stupid is because they're not overcoming smart people. They are overcoming dumb people, and that's not interesting. They've made smart characters dumb, therefore Sansa can overcome those dumb people by being dumb herself. There was another scene with Jon, with Melisandre and Davos. I thought it was interesting how they had Jon have a really friendly conversation with her before he found out what happened. It was quite a sharp turn. He had to stick to his principles. Although I say that, I'm not sure how I feel about this whole thing of go south and don't come back north. After she said, "You need me," it's like, what does he believe? What is his rationale behind this decision? Like, he wants her to get away, but he's not going to execute her for the crime, but he needs her for the war, but why is he getting rid of her? It's a very odd situation, I guess. I'm not sure how to feel about Jon's decision, like whether or not that is what he would really do. But the best part of the scene is Liam Cunningham's performance. It was exceptional. Like, Davos was great and the Red Woman was great, but I don't know about Jon. That's the part that I'm like, ugh. I don't know about that. That's weird.
I don't have any thoughts anymore.
I'll add another thing. I love the way that he just walks into the room and throws the stag at her and says, "Tell him what that is and who it belonged to."
Yeah, like, everything from Davos is, like, really well performed. I'm just so done with her as a character. I'm just done. I just don't care anymore.
It's like she's done with herself.
She's spinning wheels at this point as a presence in the show.
Mm.
Like, what is the point of her still being here?
Well, after Stannis died, she's just nothing.
She sided with Jon and then has just been here ever since, and now she's gone.
I will say, I do like that she actually confessed to Davos that Stannis and Selyse burnt the daughter. Obviously, back when we reviewed that episode, we didn't like that happened. But the fact that Davos found that out about a man he believed in is quite a big reveal for him.
Yeah, sure. It doesn't change that whole thing is really badly done and ruins the character.
It is. The whole thing of what Jon does about the situation feels very much like, we need to send her away, but we also need her later, so we can't kill her. And that's kind of how I read the scene.
Yeah.
It's like, if she rides south, she could turn against you realise? Like, she could side with someone else.
The Lord of Light told me to side with Sansa. Cersei, sorry.
Okay, let's talk about the big scene when Jon gets made king in the North.
Again, should be a moment when I'm like beating my chest.
Yeah.
And like pumping myself up.
Yeah, as I said in the reaction, my biggest issue with this scene is that no one is questioning his Night's Watch vows.
Yeah. A bastard from the Watch. Yeah.
Somebody in the North should care. Somebody, at least one person.
Yeah, and then you have the person be like, he fucking killed Ramsay Bolton. He saved people. You have to at least have that conflict.
And just explain that, like, he is doing this on behalf of the people as the wall would, but he needs Winterfell to secure them, not just the wall. That's a reasonable argument, but the fact that no one brings it up is very annoying. And also, why is Littlefinger there? Why does he stick around?
It's really strange for him being there.
I guess it's because he's a simp for Sansa. He just wants to be with her.
I guess so. There's no real addressing the fact that he got Ned Stark killed.
He wasn't even this much of a simp for Catelyn Stark, let alone her daughter.
No, exactly. Yeah. Are we not going to have? It feels like they're saving that because they cannot not address the fact that he got Ned Stark killed. They cannot not address that. It feels weird that he's just there hanging around.
Yeah, doesn't he have like more interesting things to do with his life?
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what he does next season.
I mean,
then.
My big question is, what is his plan? What does he plan to do?
What is it? Yeah, I want to know what his plan is because I want to know what his end game is.
Yeah, well, his end game is being on the Iron Throne, but how's he going to get there by being in Winterfell?
But how's he going to get there from this position?
Around these people who don't trust him, don't like him.
But don't really seem to acknowledge that he's fucking in the room.
Yeah, also, where's all the fucking Vale gone? Have they just gone home?
They're just not in the room, I guess. I don't fucking know.
They came in for one day and then they went home. Usually soldiers stick around for dinner after a battle as a reward. Yeah, so let's talk about Dawn. How about that? Yeah. We don't ever see emotion about Olenna Tyrell losing her son, grandson, and granddaughter. She mentions it in disgust, but she never has grief over it.
Yeah.
She mocks the Sand Snakes, funnily. And then Ilaria rings a bell and Varys is there. So clearly he's using both the Tyrells and the Martells as a, alliance with Daenerys when she comes to Westeros, right? And that leads us to...
He's very into all this.
That leads us to Meereen, which I thought was a pile of shit, to be honest. The Dario scene.
What else is new?
And especially the Tyrion scene. The Tyrion scene was awful. Why does she trust him?
I didn't realise there'd be a fucking dumping scene in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so she dumps Dario Naharis. And then with Tyrion Lannister,
I found nothing.
They've barely spent any time together, and when she was away from Meereen, he absolutely fumbled the bag massively. So for what reason does she have to make him her hand? Like, this is unbelievably stupid on her. Like,
because what a moment.
Just like based on her interpretation of who this guy is, she has no reason to do this.
I mean, what a WrestleMania moment. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a moment because, look how far he's come since.
I did like Emilia Clarke showing more of a human emotion. That was nice in terms of performance, but character-wise, I don't care for the scene. I think it's
But then
weird.
she says, I felt nothing. Which is sort of
Nothing
like...
for Dario Naharis?
It's just like, why are you trying to present her as just so high and mighty when she's meant to be someone who, like, cares?
I see, the thing is, her arc with Dario in the books is so much more interesting because it starts as like an obsessive infatuation over this man as she goes through her puberty, and then I know that at some point it's going to end, but it'd be more interesting to be like she's growing up and out of that phase and is no longer infantilized with this guy she doesn't need, as opposed to I need to marry someone, so fuck you, stay here.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Bay of Dragons. Slavery's been fixed. That's the other part I hated. Slavery's been abolished, so yeah, you can do.
It's
you can do the hard work.
It feels. It's just yeah.
This is not how slavery gets abolished. By the way, this is not at all how it happens.
No, but she says we abolish slavery, and then we do. Yippee!
Why? Because she
What a
killed
woman.
three. She killed 3 tyrants and an army
she
of
killed
gangsters.
2.
Oh, true. She killed 2 tyrants and an army of faceless gangsters. So she assumes that slavery won't happen again because why? There's surely going to be people living in those cities that believe in slavery, that will rise to the top and eventually reinstate it. It takes like a whole generation of systemic change, not one day of fire and blood. What the point of the scene for her character should be, I tried to solve this, but I can't. This is not my place. My place is in Westeros, where I can do what I am best at, as opposed to what she tried to do here. It should be a thing of, she learned about herself trying to abolish slavery, but realized it was so big she couldn't do it herself, but she hopes that her presence there will one day change it. It will inspire change. That would make sense, not, we have solved the problem, now you deal with the aftermath while I fuck off. Just abhorrent writing.
You really just to keep the constant dialogue of just like, I know that was hard for you, turning around someone who was truly in love with you.
Oh,
not
God.
like, I know it was hard for you, someone being involved with someone and then having to end it. It was more to do with you let someone go who loved you because you're amazing. not that it was you've spent a lot of time together, you probably shared a lot of moments. No, it's because he was just so infatuated by you.
Yeah. There was one little moment.
So weird.
There was one little moment I liked in the last scene where Theon saw a dragon for the first time. That was cool.
Yeah.
But it lasted like 2 seconds. And then Varys is on the ship for some reason, which is dumb, because why did he travel all the way back there when he's only going to go all the way back? Yeah. Also, actually no, I won't. I was going to say something else, but I'll talk about it when we get to season 7. There's a very, very big thing that I've mentioned before that is very dumb about this whole storyline, but I'll talk about it when we get to season 7. Yeah. So, all in all, this was actually not great in terms of its script. It was actually quite a mess, but it's uplifted by its presentation and its production values and its acting.
Boy, is it.
Yeah. But for the most part, I actually think Dave and Dan they took something that could have been amazing and they really did not deliver. And again, like the last episode, it kind of puzzles me. Maybe I can understand it slightly more, but it still puzzles me why people say this is the best episode when there's so many obvious issues with it. I think maybe
as a script is very flawed.
People just like jam-packed stuff with lots of big moments and like satisfying resolutions to stuff.
So you mean every film that just is filled with cameos and big stakes and moments over the last 6 years?
Yeah, a lot of people love... I remember one of my friends telling me when I was going through this for the first time, saying, oh, the last 2 episodes of season 6 are my favorite in the show because so much happens. It's like there's more to good storytelling than eventful episodes.
Eventful things, yeah.
Eventful episodes can be exciting, but it doesn't always equate to quality.
Yeah, like a lot of things happen in TLJ.
Also, you can have a really minimalist episode and have it be amazing too.
Absolutely. It's why a lot of people appreciate minimal episodes that do high concepts with really good execution.
Mm-hmm. Even Game of Thrones has done that a couple of times with Blackwater and the Watchers on the Wall. Admittedly, it's a big cast, but it's still only one storyline in an hour. Battle of the Bastards tried to do that.
and failed. And failed miserably.
So yeah, I was not pleased with David Benioff and Dan Weiss's execution.
Yeah, what it is both infuriating and disappointing.
It's frustrating because I can see where this could have been amazing. However, I will say, I was slightly critical of the last episode in this respect, but I think Miguel Sapochnik, in terms of direction, I thought he did a standout job with this one. I can't critique him on this episode. I thought he was exceptional at presenting the story. It was majestic to watch. But I would say particularly King's Landing, but it kind of was throughout, wasn't it? There was a lot of great scenes in terms of visual presentation. Obviously, the most poignant moment being the match cut from baby Jon to adult Jon.
I would say the direction was really, really good, like throughout. Cinematography was also like beautifully done. A lot of
Lighting
really
as
great
well.
shots.
Lighting was gorgeous.
Lighting was very, very good. We talked about lighting before we recorded and like how effective it is when you do it right in selling an atmosphere. And this episode does do it very, very well.
The visual effects for the wildfire too were awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, the thing I've been waiting to talk about all season is the music by Raymond Javadi on this episode.
Yeah, pretty stellar.
I'm not going to say anything until we've listened to it. The first track, we've got 3 tracks for this episode. The first one is a track called Light of the Seven. Yeah. This is Pink Floyd length.
Yeah, it is. really is just a funeral. That's what it is.
What would this show do without this composer? Honestly,
Crazy. That's fucking crazy.
yeah. So that for me, that is, I believe, Raymond Javadi's magnum opus. It's epic. It has everything. It's so big. It has multiple motifs of many themes in the show, that being the faith, militants, Cersei, the Lannisters. It's got such great instrumentation. I had goosebumps all over my body. Again, I've probably listened to that song like 100 times, and I still am in awe of it. It's just amazing.
I mean, it's an insanely, it's just an insane track. Fucking hell.
Yeah, from the moment it starts as well.
The way I describe it is that it is a funeral, and incorporating the main theme for it. Yeah, it's so well done, this track. Like, it's insane.
And the fact that it starts with that piano motif and it's so unfamiliar to the show as well. Everything feels off. It's this luring undercurrent of wildfire that's about to strike.
137 million plays on Spotify.
Yep. It's a masterpiece.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for more from Raymond Javadi out of this episode. He absolutely nailed it. Absolutely fucking ripped it. Like, that song on that start of the episode in King's Landing is just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they teased that as Cersei's theme in the last 2 seasons as well. It had been built up to. And then they played it again when she was crowned.
Yeah.
The piano, the church organ, the high notes, the strings. It's so epic.
Oh, boy. Just, wow.
It's for all the wrongs that season 6 did. I'm grateful for that one piece of music. That we got that out of it.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Right, so our second track is called Winter Has Come. It gets quite
such an epic track.
Yeah, it gets the balance right as well. It's the epicness of the Game of Thrones theme, but it also has the undercurrent of winter has come as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's meant to be, and that's like, it's just a shame that a track like that, which is like can be so meaningful in terms of like uplifting, but also with the presence of what's to come, be just completely undermined by how poorly done the writing is.
Yes, because the stuff at Winterfell in this episode was very annoying.
Very annoying, because it could have been fucking great.
Yep. Yes. The last track is called The Winds of Winter, same as the title of the episode. The feeling I get from this song is it feels like this is, I guess the music trying to be like, this is, the whole show has come together.
Yeah, that's what this episode is trying to be.
Yeah, it's all come together. Everything that's been set up since season 1 is all finally where we now have a whole piece. But unfortunately, the last 21 episodes have been very turbulent. At the end of the episode would be way more satisfying if it had stayed consistent up to that point.
Just again, another great track. Wish it was a part of a moment that actually solved what it's going for.
The episode 9, which was Battle of the Bastards, got 7.66 million, which was a bit of a drop. This episode, The Winds of Winter, got 8.89 million.
Yeah. I thought it might break the 9, but I think that first episode next season is going to break 9. I feel like it has to.
So
we're at the point now.
Regardless of that, though, the 8.89, that's the highest so far.
Yep, that makes sense. Those shocking. This is because when this came out, and sort of when season 7 was coming out, is when like I knew the show existed, but I just never seen anybody talk about it. Season 7 is when, like, you know, obviously, as I mentioned before, it was the first episode of the show I ever watched. So I knew about it, and I knew it was like massive. So I'm imagining start of next season is when we're going to break into the 9s and maybe 10 by the end.
Yeah, not in terms of episode ratings.
Nope. No. We're far away from that. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I mean, the next time we give one of those in this universe is probably going to be, if it is anything, it'll be House of the Dragon or the Hedge Knight. It won't be Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it won't be. Don't think it will be.
I'd be very surprised. So this is going to be a tricky one, I think, to conclude on, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot of very good and very bad things, similar to season 6 as a whole, really. Conclusion and rating out of 10 for the Winds of Winter.
There's so much about it that it could have been so good. It could have been like so amazing and so well done. But man, this whole season building to this, and like every issue that has come before just massively affects this episode. And then this episode decides to have lines of dialogue that are just absolutely fucking stupid and don't actually address the fucking big issues from the season. But in terms of literally everything apart from the script, like some of the best television I think you can find, from direction, acting, music, lighting, cinematography,
costume design,
everything.
as well.
So costume designs, everything around it is just so, the amount of work to go into this, and then it's just so well realized in that regard. Spot on. But you know, the be all end all with storytelling is just scripts, and unfortunately D&D have forgotten how to actually make scripts, so that is just massively disappointing to watch all this other hard work be completely wasted by incredibly lackluster and flawed and downright pitiful script at times. So it's not the worst episode we've seen, because there are some legitimate little bits that are right.
I feel
cool.
like this is better than the last two finales. Like 4 and 5 were worse than this. The Children and
So
Mother's Mercy.
which is why I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10. It just missed out on the 5 because of the whole John Sansa stuff, really.
Yeah. This is The Winds of Winter is incredibly frustrating to watch, because it has, as you said, some of the best, presentation the show's ever done, if not the best. But the writing is very, very, very flawed on many levels. And I actually think, because I've seen seasons 7 and 8, I think the things this episode sets up are actually really poor decisions going forward when you look at them in hindsight, because of how much they decide to change and nuke here, that I don't think a lot of the decisions were worth it in a lot of ways. There's also just quite a few scenes that just are so like the scene in Dawn and all the stuff in Marine is really, really terrible. And then you get, Winterfell, which is mostly terrible. And even though the Ned, Lyanna, Jon stuff is good, the whole thing about it that I didn't mention before is like what this does for Bran as a character is just so nondescript, and that's the part that annoys me. Is I don't feel like Bran as a person is actually growing by getting this information. I feel like he's just learning things that we are learning. Obviously, the King's Landing stuff was a spectacle, but I still have issues with it, like the High Sparrow, for example, and Jaime's teleporting. The Arya Walder Frey scene is fucking dreadfully bad. Yeah, and when you actually break down the story and you ignore the very nice aesthetics, this episode is actually kind of a disaster in a lot of ways. I'm gonna be a bit harsher and give this a 4. It's not a 3 because the presentation is just so immaculate, but the script is just fucking, it's so bad. Just the writing is so bad. But it's not as bad as Battle of the Bastards. I think Battle of the Bastards is a lot stupider and a lot more just like clumsy. This has great craftsmanship involved, but it's just really, really piss poor in terms of how it handles some characters. And like thematically as well, the slavery stuff in Marine, I can't get over how much they took an absolute dump on the entire meaning behind Slaver's Bay for like the last 4 seasons. It's just ridiculous. And making Tyrion the Hand, God. So that means that we have the season 6 recap to do with the rankings of the episodes and to talk about the entire season as a whole, which we'll get to. But when we start season 7, we will be starting with an episode that you have seen before, and that is Dragonstone.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The last time we were at Dragonstone was season 4, I believe. Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. It was season 4. It was right before Stannis went to the Iron Bank.
Yep.
So yeah, your thoughts going into Dragonstone?
It'll be very interesting to see what I can remember from it, because as far as I'm aware, there are scenes I can remember, and I know it's the episode where Ed Sheeran turns up. Is the episode of the famous Ed Sheeran cameo. So, yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how that, because I remember watching it legitimately. I remember watching it and thinking, this is really boring. I'm really bored watching this. And then I didn't watch the show again. Obviously, I knew it was still very popular. So my impression before watching all of this was that this show is really overrated. Because of these last 3 seasons, I still believe that.
Yeah, well, season 7 has 7 episodes instead of 10. So, yeah. There is no Essos for the rest of the show. Daenerys is in Westeros. That's kind of the big draw of season 7, right? Is that Dany is now in Westeros.
Because I specifically remember what the last scene of the first episode is and what the final line is.
What do you think Jon's going to get up to in season 7?
I actually don't remember seeing Jon at all in the first episode, so I don't know if that was... I imagine there's things I don't remember, but there are specific moments I do. There's 3 scenes I specifically remember from that episode. So, yeah.
I remember
it's going to be
all
very
of it.
interesting.
I remember all of it.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Right.
What a disappointment.
Best season ever, right? I'm not joking when I say that. People have said that season 6 is the best
I believe you.
Somehow. And I don't just mean like 3 people, I mean like 15 people.
Yeah. I believe it.
Yeah. Anyway. We will see you next time for the recap and rankings of season 6. I bid you adieu, a good night, and a goodbye. Bye-bye.